Identity theft. Headphone highlights. I'm Master Marslander, and I am upset. No one told me. No one said anything about this. I wasn't informed. No one thought to reach out to me to ask me if this was okay. No one said, hey, TINHIFI, before you go and do that, maybe check with the namesake. No one said anything. It just went right under the radar, and here we are now. Now we're here. This is where we are now. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Good guy, TINHIFI. You know what? I love you. I love you. I got so much TINHIFI stuff. I have almost everything you've ever made. You're wonderful. You're great. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you reach out? It's fine. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. We're going to go ahead and talk about this anyway. This is the TINHIFI T5S Mars. Let's take a look. The T5S Mars. Okay, let's get into it. So this is another IEM by the much beloved TINHIFI. We've done a number of reviews for TINHIFI. Really like their stuff. Sure do have a lot of it, and it's all been pretty dang positive. So, you know, when we're here talking about the Mars, sure would have been nice. Sure, you know, maybe the guy with the namesake might have been able to communicate a bit more about these and be a little bit more enthusiastic about them if he knew about it. Let's just get into this. So, these are a dynamic driver IEM by TINHIFI, and they have a pretty subtle design. It looks actually pretty nice. Let's go ahead and I'm going to remove the cable so we can get a better look at the IEMs themselves. They have a full aluminum body and shell with a chameleon panel color shifting logo. And let me get a better look at this so I can show you what this means. The logo actually does a color shift depending on the light that it is in. So the direction of the light, as you can see, there you go, will change the color of the logo. That's neat. That's pretty cool. A little bit of purple there, a little bit of blue, green, yellow, orange, red. It's nice. It's pretty cool. And you can tell it actually spreads a little bit onto the faceplate itself, though of course it is mostly reflective right there on the logo. So that's really neat. As for what's inside, they are a 10mm dynamic driver IEM, but they also incorporate a topping 3nm diaphragm, as well as Japanese lightweight CCAW voice coils. So pretty cool stuff under the hood here. There are 32 ohms of impedance and 103 decibels of sensitivity. We get a little bit of a closer look here, and you can see that the faceplate has this little bit of kind of a rough texture. Very shimmery, shiny, clean, chrome-looking TINHIFI logo there. And then the shell itself is in contrast with a more kind of satin smooth body. Uses a 2-pin connector. Thank you very much, TINHIFI. I very much do prefer the 2-pin. And then here's your nozzle as well. Nice size nozzle, not overly huge, but certainly not too small. Their design overall is fairly subtle, kind of minimalist, and I actually really like it. I think it has a very kind of classy look to it. Looks very, very nice, futuristic, maybe even a little bit space agey. We're gonna calm down, it's fine. They look nice, I like them a lot. And the ergonomic shape of them, as you can see, looks like a lot of attention went to the overall shape of the shell. We'll see how well this shell actually performs when we get to comfort and fit, but on the looks of it here, it looks really nice. It's very well molded and CNC machined here, so a very robust shell design, and they're not heavy at all. They're actually fairly lightweight for what is quite a bit of aluminum, so that's nice to see. In terms of accessories, also in typical TINHIFI fashion, they do very well deliver. First of all, you get this very nice box, which can really be appreciated by certain folks, maybe more than others. But behind the wrapper here, you still get a very nice box. It's just really quality packaging overall. You can look at the unboxing video for this if you want to for more of a detailed look at how this all opens up and unveils itself, but it's good packaging overall. As for what you get inside of your very fancy box, you get Some typical TINHIFI light gray foam tips. These are really quite nice. They have very, very slow, soft memory foam, so they actually perform really excellent fit and finish and feel for the IEM. So those are nice. They don't have the blue tips that come with the TIN-T2s, which I think are pretty much universally the more preferred tip from TINHIFI, but these still do a very good job. You also get a little baggie here full of your typical silicone tips. They are color coordinated, which is nice to kind of make sure you're doing the right pairs. You get some that are tall and some that are short, so you get a nice variety for different fits and finish and comfort. You also get this little baggie of exchangeable filters. These are not tuning filters like we have seen on some other IEMs before. These are just kind of replacements for your filters if for any reason you need to replace your filters. To help you out with your filters and maintenance, you get this nice, simple little brush. It's kind of a nice little thing to add. I appreciate that. You also get a pair of tweezers. That's not often I see this with a IM package, but that's pretty cool. Makes it, I guess, a little bit easier to, replace your filters or pick out little bits of whatever you don't want on your IMs or in your IMs. So that's cool. That's nice. Thank you for the tweezers. You get a little bit of literature, as you would expect, and then you get this fairly nice cable. This cable is built very, very well. And it is, again, a 2-pin cable. They are labeled here on the connecting end with R and L for right and left indicators. Really appreciate that. They're also color coded, red and white for right and left. And they have this kind of dark gray and light gray woven weave here, where you have a 2 weave per channel going into a more complicated 4 weave down here. It looks nice. It's done very well. And it also does a pretty good job of just kind of draping around and not holding its shape. It's pretty nice. Your splitter is just a simple little block of aluminum there. And then you have an adjustment that has the TINHIFI logo on there as well for tension adjusting. At the opposite end, we have a well-machined 3.5mm. And you will notice that this is just a 3.5mm. There is no balanced option. There is no modularity to this. It's just a straight 3.5mm termination, and that's all you get. I'm a little disappointed by that. I do think that having some option for at least a 4.4 would have been really, really appreciated. But, it's fine. This will still be able to connect to the majority of devices. TINHIFI, Velcro right there as well to bundle this all up. Now, you would be excused to think that this cable looks familiar because it actually has a lot of resemblance to another cable from a different brand of IEM, the LaShore S12 cable or S12 Pro. It's very, very similar to that, but not exactly the same. And rest assured, we're going to bring out the S12 Pro for a little bit of comparison, and you'll see just kind of how similar or dissimilar the cable is, but it does have that kind of likeness. Just really quick, I forgot to show this off. This is the carrying case that also comes with the Mars. It's this lovely, very elegant and simplistic looking white leather case. It looks great. It feels great. I am pretty sure it's not real leather, but it still feels really, really nice. And it does have nice stitching all around the edges. On the front here, it does say TINHIFI. It looks very, very nice. And on the inside here, little pocket for the IEMs. Yeah, this is a nice case. Comes with it. Dog hair not included. Now, a little bit of criticism about this whole package right here. It looks fairly nice on its own. It's a nice kind of look. It's very subtle, and these do go well together. The dark gray and light gray versus the kind of gunmetal gray on the actual shells. But let me ask you, what about this says Mars? I'm not getting Mars from this at all. In fact, TINHIFI, you tend to do this a lot. You give your IEMs these really freaking awesome, cool, like, nicknames, but they don't really represent that at all. Like, the spaces didn't look anything like space. Likewise, these don't really look anything like Mars. And being who I am, TINHIFI, I can't let that slide. So, to better represent the Mars namesake, I decided that this cable wasn't going to cut it. So we're going to push that over here. Because what I went ahead and did for myself, because it deserves it, I commissioned this. Yeah, that's Mars, my friends. Now look at that. That's a package I can get behind. That's a package I would endorse. Hell freaking yeah, this is Mars in your hands right here. Oh man, I'm excited to show this off. So what this is a cable that I had commissioned by the incredible Marco Custom Cables. I'm gonna put a link in the description to Marcos's Instagram page. Go check him out. He does incredible work. This has so much more personality and so much better theming for a Mars themed IEM. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love this cable. I love Marcos's work. Please go check him out. Link in the description. Look at this. What a beautiful freaking cable. So on the connecting end here, we have these lovely metal machined connectors that have knurling, and they are colored differently for your left and right channels. We have this two weave again that goes down. We have like an orange and a red combined with a dark gray and a dark green, very kind of Marsy colors that goes into a splitter of equal design, more metal, more knurling, which then comes into this big, chunky, but light and lovely four weave. Oh my God, which again, of course, comes back at the end to terminate to this beautiful 4.4 balanced termination right here. So this is leaps and bounds better for me. I mean, I suppose it's a subjective thing, but if you're going to make a Mars themed IEM, go balls to the walls with it, man. Give it something to represent the actual theme. See what I did, TINHIFI? I did it for you. I did it for you. Now, I've set the foundation. Next time, theme it. Okay. All right, let's talk fit and comfort, and for consistency, I'm going to go ahead and use the boring unthemed stock cable to do this, because this is what you will be getting if you decide to order one of these for yourself. I'm also using the included foam tips instead of the silicone tips, because the foam tips just give you really the perfect fit, or at least the perfect seal, which is important. So comfort-wise, like I said, these are very light, even though they are all metal. And the foam tips, you know, sometimes they can be hit and miss. Sometimes for me, the foam tips can get a little bit too much pressure as they expand in my ears, or they can get too warm. But TINHIFI just makes really good tips, just like from their stock tips. They're really, really nice. So putting these in, letting this cable drape down, this is nice. This is very, very nice. I've been able to wear these for quite some time. Maybe not as long as some of the other IEMs that do actually just use the silicone tips, because silicone is just a lot less fatiguing on the ear, but there's no denying the benefit you get with the foam tips. The seal on this, the passive sound isolation, is phenomenal. I can't hear anything in the studio right here. My fans are on, I can't hear them. PC's on. The studio light is on with its fan running. I can't hear any of that, and my voice is incredibly, incredibly muffled. This is enough of a passive noise isolation that this would actually do you decently well, not as well as active noise canceling, but decently well to help you for like doing flights on a plane or anything like that. But yeah, the passive isolation is excellent. So the fit here, they're great. They're not going anywhere. They're not falling out. They're not flying around or anything like that. It's a really good fit. The ergonomics of the shell design for my ears are fine. Totally fine. They fit into my ear shape without any problem. I don't feel like I'm getting any sort of discomfort or pressure or misalignment with how it fits into the ear. It fits in there nice, and it actually looks, again, subtle, simple, and I like that. It has a nice, subtle, simple look to it. it's just a really good fit, really excellent fit. So let's go ahead and talk sound performance for these guys, starting with the understanding that these are very source sensitive. What I mean by that is that their sound has a tendency to change a pretty noticeable amount depending on the source that you are using. Going back and forth between like topping amps and shit amps and SMSL amps, it's just a very different listening experience, or different portable amps like hi-fi and so on. It just has a tendency to change the sound a little bit. So makes it a little bit difficult to really pinpoint exactly how they sound, but I'm gonna go ahead and rate these from my A90D because it's a really, really super clean amplifier, albeit maybe a little bit boring. But overall, a mostly neutral sound signature, leaning just a little bit on the warmer end. They're actually pretty well tuned. The tuning on these is pretty great. It's not overly bombastic and ridiculous, but also not at all boring. The low end is pretty well controlled. It's not overstepping its bounds, but it's also still managing to be very punchy and energetic and hard hitting. The sub bass though is a little bit on the subtle end. I wish that the extension was a bit more. It just didn't really hit as deep as I really wanted it to, but on certain tracks that really emphasize sub bass, you do pick it up a little bit. The mid bass is pretty well controlled and pretty well managed. It doesn't really tend to bleed or bloom all that much into your mid range, and again, has a good kind of thump and smack to it that's really visceral and feels nice and is pretty fun to listen to. Mid range is clear and pretty well defined with some really rich and vibrant strings and a pretty natural, albeit very, very forward vocal representation. But that vocal representation is nice. It's very intimate, but it still has a very natural kind of warmth to it to make it fairly easy to listen to and not really at all shouty. The treble range is very tamed and relaxed with a fairly noticeable cutoff on the top end. Makes it fairly easy to listen to, but I do feel like I'm missing some of that sparkle and flutter that I would expect in the range. And even though the treble is a bit cut off in extension, it does have a bit of a tendency to get on the edge of sibilance in some tracks, but I found that to be very, very rare, and it never really was so much that I found it bothersome. One of the kind of parlor tricks for this thing though is its speed. It has really excellent speed for a dynamic. It's snappy, it's punchy, and with its fairly good dynamics, gives you this really kind of energetic listening experience and fairly solid like transient hits and attacks. Soundstage wide, it's pretty narrow. It's pretty much like just here in your ears. I'm not really getting any spaciousness, any air. It's just kind of there in your ears and almost like it's imaging behind your eyeballs a little bit. It's just like a ball of information right here in the smack dab in the middle of your face. So not really much of a soundstage immersive listening experience. Everything is extremely intimate. But even with that intimacy, the image separation is pretty great. You're able to identify every instrument, every sound from pretty much any direction, even if it is really, really tight inside of your face. At least you know where it's coming from, and it does an excellent job. So this is all well and good for the T5S here, but how does it compare to its competition? And competition it does have, because at a MSRP price of $130, this IEM, the T5S, is going directly against the already very much appreciated and loved Shure S12 Pro. Now, as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, very similar like cable. This is like, man, they look really, really close, but there is a difference. The Shure cable is quite a bit thicker than the, oh gosh, let's get an actual section here. The Shure cable is thicker and only a 2-weave compared to the 4-weave and thinner cable of the T5S. But kind of a similar design methodology, a similar kind of look that they're going for here, I think. But where the competition goes heartily to the S12 Pros here in terms of the cable, it is a modular cable that includes pretty much any termination that you would ever need. So very similar look, but definitely a very, very different design. So comparing the two, sound-wise, what are we getting? First and foremost, most notably, the S12 Pro has significantly wider staging for a much more immersive listening experience. The soundstage on the S12 Pro is nice, big, spacious, and airy, significantly more so than you get from the T5S, which again, very, very intimate, pretty much beaming directly into your ears. The S12 Pro also offers a kind of a neutral sound signature, edging a bit more on the warmer side. But when it comes to your mid-range in particular, the S12 Pro is quite a bit warmer and even more relaxed than the T5S. Mid-range is fairly comparable, but of course, one being a lot more spacious and open and expressive versus something a lot more focused and intimate. The treble representation on the S12 Pro, however, is less so than on the T5S. There's a lot less, the treble on the S12 Pro is much more relaxed, much more just smoothed out, a lot more kind of intensity from the T5S here than you get from the S12 Pro. The T5S is just in general quite a bit faster than the S12 Pro, which offers you this sense of improved dynamics and almost a sense of resolution. But again, the treble range is still pretty well cut off here. Maybe not quite as relaxed as the S12s, but it's not enough for me to say that it's a very detailed IEM. Talking about kind of the vocal range, obviously the S12 Pro is going to have much wider staging and therefore a much less intimate and less forward vocal range than the T5S. So vocals are a lot more intimate here, as is with everything else, while over here with the S12 Pro, vocals are just kind of smooth and buttery and relaxed. So the gist of this is that if you want something that is a lot more cinematic, a lot more sit back, relax, and let yourself dive deep into what you're listening to, then you probably want to stick with the S12 Pros. But if you want something a lot more focused and intimate and a heck of a lot faster, especially if you want to do like high tempo stuff, you might actually prefer the T5S here because its speed is pretty remarkable, especially for a dynamic. Both of these IEMs, I think, are approaching a very similar, if not the same, frequency target. So they have a lot of similarities with the sound, just are kind of two sides of the same coin and how they approach it. Very opposite approaches of what is otherwise a very similar frequency response. The T5S are fun and they're fairly easy to listen to, albeit fairly intense as well. And because they're so source dependent, because they can change pretty drastically depending on what you are connecting them to in your chain, it offers a level of experimentation that for some people I would think adds some value to it. It does for me. I like to be able to kind of play around and see what's like the best fit for the best kind of genre of music I want to listen to or the best particular scenario. So I find that to be a bit of a positive, but you know, your mileage may vary. But yeah, extra experimentation, extra kind of options, I say adds a little bit of value. Because of their intensity and the speed and impact that they provide, I think they're actually pretty freaking excellent for gaming if you're not worried about having this big spaciousness. And I think if you're more on the competitive side of gaming, you probably don't really want a really huge soundstage. You probably want things to be just immediate in your ear, but you want to maintain a really precise imaging. If that's what you're looking for, you might get it here. My only thing is that because the treble range is, again, a little chopped off at the top end, your high notes, like if you've got really tip-tap footsteps that you're trying to find, it might be a little hard to pick it up on here. But otherwise, man, the imaging on these is really great for gaming. So they're a pretty solid entry in the TINHIFI family overall, I think. They look very nice, they're made very well, and they offer a pretty good sound that may be dependent more on your source and your circumstance of what you want to be listening to. I do think that there was a big missed opportunity here with not having these themed Mars like at all. You just put Mars on the box. Put some thought into the actual physical design, the actual industrial design as well. Let it match the theme. And while you're at it, I have a question. Why wasn't I sponsored? TINHIFI, why wasn't I sponsored for this?